What's up? Be thankful that you're not sitting next to me. You know why? Because I'm snacking. I'm snacking, man. So, check this out. I was on the van side. I did van just shy of 3 years. And then I transferred over to the tanker division, right? And when I transferred over, I did have my hazmat endorsement. I did not have TWIC. Nobody mentioned that I might want to think about getting TWIC. I transferred over with just hazmat and thought that I'd be fine. Didn't know. I mean, no one mentioned it. Had no idea. Didn't really consider it. Nothing, you know. I get over and I'm training. I go through my first week. I was an experienced driver, so I was only there for 3 weeks. So first week was training. Second week was going out and about with a TE, and the third week was back at home base basically and doing SQTs, right? So my second week with the TE, I was home every night because he was a local guy and I was experienced. So I was home, but I was back at the hotel every night, okay? With only a hazmat endorsement. Here's what happened, okay? The loads that you go on with your TE are real loads. They're live. You're going to real customers, real situations, real loads. What comes down the pipe is what you get. And to a degree is based off of what that TE can do. So if that TE has hazmat and TWIC card, that's what you're getting. We hope that you have hazmat and TWIC, but based off of how many TEs there are that are available and what they have and how many students there are, this and the other, sometimes somebody might not get matched up in a way that you would hope, okay? So for me, when I started out with my TE, again, only had hazmat. I didn't have TWIC. 2 of those days was a load where the customer required you to have TWIC. Was there anything that I could do? Was there anything that Schneider could do? My TE was there anything that he could do? That customer wanted us to have TWIC. He had it. I didn't. So guess what happened? We drove out with him and we parked at a truck stop. He dropped me off while he continued on to the customer to get loaded up. How long did I stay there? The first day I stayed there about 4 hours. It was just about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours. I just sat there waiting. Was there anything that I could do? Was there anything that he could do? Was there anything that Schneider could do? I had to just sit there in the truck stop and wait on that hard bench for about 4 to 5 hours. That's what happened. Playing on my phone, losing battery juice, can't do anything because the load was a TWIC load. And I waited there for so long because something was going on with the load, so eventually the customer just canceled that load, I think it was. So I waited there without a TWIC card for no reason for 4 or 5 hours. Get back into the truck. I mean, he finally was able to leave because they canceled the load. So he left out, picked me up, went back over to the OC, dropped me off, and I got back in the cab to go back to the hotel. Next morning, got a load, and I don't remember if it was the same load that was just reused. I don't know, but got up next morning, got a load, going to a customer, need a TWIC card. In this case, we say, hey man, instead of me going back to the same truck stop I went to yesterday, let's just go to Love's. So he dropped me off at He dropped me off at Love's. I go to Love's and I sit down and I wait for about 3 hours. Why? Because I didn't have a TWIC card. So I'm just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. because I don't have a TWIC card. I can't do anything about it. He can't do anything about it. Schneider can't do anything about it. We need a TWIC card. I don't have one. He does. He has to drop me off. He has no choice. There's nothing we can do. He's got to drop me off. That load still has to be picked up. And it's a shame I didn't have a TWIC card. So, I don't have a TWIC card. So I got to wait a couple hours. The same as that thing. You know, I have to sit there and just wait. He gets the load this time, which is good. And once he's able to pick up that load and take it out of that location, I'm now able to drive it, because the TWIC card is basically just for ports. It's you being able to have the authorization to get into ports, because they're highly secure, basically. You know, and a lot of most of it is just because of 9/11. You know, so I got it. So yeah. So after that, I was thinking, well, hey, you know, maybe I should just go ahead and get a TWIC card, because all this waiting around stuff, you know, I don't want to keep doing that, you know. I remember on the van side, I went into one port before, and I didn't have a TWIC card, and they had like a special escort, but you had to pay them though, you know. I think Schneider paid them, but you know, you have to pay them to escort you inside of that, you know, port, just to get loaded up or, you know, unloaded. So I now have a TWIC card. Now, here's why. I got hired in, I think about March. I started working on the tanker side about March, and just before it started getting cold, I started seeing messages saying, you know, you don't have a TWIC card, you might want to get one. And so I'm thinking, well, you know, when I first transferred over into bulk and I got into my own truck, I asked, you know, do I need a TWIC card? And you know, I was told, no, you don't really need a TWIC card. So I was like, okay, cool. So I just kept, you know, I was working. You know, I didn't really sit around much at all that I could think of. I didn't really sit around. So I'm working hard, this and the other. And then all of a sudden, right before it starts to get cold, right before the major holidays, basically, I'm getting messages saying, hey, you know, you don't have a TWIC card. You need to update that, you know. And so I'm calling in and asking about that. And they're saying, well, you know, you have to understand that when it starts to get colder, the loads tend to get a little soft. So to make sure that you actually get a load, try and get that TWIC card, you know. That way you can get a load. Because here's what could happen. You got two drivers. You got you and the guy next to you. He has hazmat. He's got a TWIC card, and both of you're sitting around in like Houston. You're just sitting around waiting on a load. Load comes through. He's got hazmat. He's got TWIC. The load requires hazmat and TWIC. He's gonna get that load, and it's going from, like, say, Houston to Pennsylvania. You know, you get a load, and you've got the same amount of, you know, available hours, whatever. And it's only going from Houston to Louisiana, you know. It's not going as far. It's because you don't have hazmat and TWIC, you know. You might have been available maybe 1 hour earlier than the guy next to you, but because you can't get into that facility and haul hazmat, you're not getting that load. So he's getting the miles on that load. You're not, because you don't have hazmat and or TWIC. So you as a brand new student, here's what I suggest. Going into tankers, I would definitely say get hazmat, get TWIC. Just you know, to me, it should just be mandatory. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, to have that before you start training for Schneider and whatnot. It would help if you did, but it's not a requirement, because you can still get loads. But understand that, well, you being brand new, you're going to be on the road for 2 weeks at a time with your TE. So you might get a load where it's like, you know, you need a TWIC card and you don't have one, so you got to wait. But once he pulls it out of that facility, then you can start driving it. Now, if it's a load where you got to have hazmat and you don't have hazmat, you won't be driving at all. It'll just be him. So say if it's going from, say, from Houston to Pennsylvania. That whole route, you're not driving. Now, with that being said, if more than likely as a TE, he'll let you do the pre-trips and he'll let you back it into a spot, but you're not going to drive it over public roads at all. That's not happening. You know, again, I'm not saying that you have to get a TWIC card and hazmat before you get into training. I'm just saying you'll put yourself into a better position if you do. If you don't get that before you get into training, you're still okay. You're gonna be okay. You know, hopefully you won't have a situation where you have to have hazmat or TWIC when you get with your TE. And if you do, then just understand what may happen. But I would say, personally speaking, I'm not speaking for Schneider, I'm just saying personally speaking, it's just Dion talking, right? Get it as soon as you can. If you do try to get your hazmat and your TWIC prior to going into training, I would say that with your hazmat, that's not going to take too much time. Just a few weeks, maybe. I think. I can't remember. It's been a while since I got that. I think for the most part, you just go in, you take the test, and you know, once you pass that test at the DMV, they give you a temporary license that expires in about a month, maybe, I guess. And then you get the actual card in the mail. I'm going to say within 2 weeks. I don't know how long it takes, but I'm going to say about 2 weeks. Now, TWIC card, that's totally different, right? So you got to go get fingerprinted and this, that, and the other, whatever, and then get the card. Wait a minute. No, TWIC is a little different. You got to apply for it, be approved, and then once you're approved, I think that process takes about a month just to be approved. I believe, don't quote me on that, I believe, but it's going to take about a month just to be approved. Once you're approved, you have to go to one of the fingerprinting stations. I don't remember what it's called right now. Identico or something. I can't remember. Don't quote me on it, but you'll find out. Once you get approved, you would then take that letter, and I think in some cases you don't really need the letter. Just be approved and then just go. But you would then go to the fingerprint place, get your fingerprints done, answer questions, fingerprints done, whatever, and you're good to go. You get the card in the mail a few weeks later. So I would say if you're going to try and get your TWIC card prior to you getting into training, allow yourself about a month and a half, 2 months or so before to get that TWIC card. At the very least, start the whole process so that once you get into training and you graduate, you can hit the ground running. You got a TWIC card, let your boss know this, that, and the other, and you're good to go, you know? So, again, I am not saying you have to have a hazmat and TWIC card before you get into training. Not saying that at all, because you can still work without it. But just understand some of the things that could happen if you don't have it. You know, it's not a guarantee that those things will happen. It's not a guarantee that you will need a TWIC card or that you guys will have a load where you have to have a TWIC card. It's not a guarantee that you guys will have a load where it's hazmat. Not a guarantee. You might be hauling glue for all I know, you know, or windshield washer fluid or something like that. I don't know. You know, you might be hauling something that you don't need a TWIC card for. And if that happens, great, awesome. You get to get your training in, this, that, and the other, and, you know, you're good. But understand what happens, too, that if you don't have your hazmat or your TWIC. So, I guess all I'm really saying is that it's just going to help you more if you do have it, just in case. That's what I'm going to say, just in case, you know. Because, again, those are real loads, they're live loads, they're real, you know. You're getting out there and you're doing the thing, you know. So, anyway, that is my spiel on hazmat and TWIC before you get into training. So, until next time, you guys be good and keep it safe. Be safe in all that you do. Bye.